Louise Perry starts chapter 2 off with explaining how men and women are different. The modern feminists do not like to acknowledge this at all. They like to tell us that any differences between men and women are purely the result of socialization, and in that way, women can be exactly like men. Now, I do not know why they want women to be exactly like men. I guess because freedom is the only thing they want. And again, they're leaving out the fact that many women don't just want freedom. They want to be mothers, wives. They want to have children and families and connection and community and security and safety and fellowship. But the modern feminists don't think about that. I think a lot of them hate men, and they seem to hate motherhood and children as well. For them, the whole thing is freedom, and any ideas or studies or theories that compromise this freedom, they don't even want to look at. So Louise Perry also was one of these people that was brought up to believe in freedom for feminists. But then she came across a book written in 2000, a very controversial book. The authors even received death threats for this book. A Natural History of Rape by Randy Thornhill and Craig T. Palmer. And these authors definitely are against rape, but they talk about why men rape. And throughout animal species, it's the males who rape the females. We're told that this is about power, but that's the liberal feminist argument because they're trying to say it's the male patriarchy, but it's biology. Men are naturally more aggressive and more horny, and there is a subset of men who are so aggressive and so horny that they will actually rape women. And when you look at the ages of these, you see that female rape victimization and female sexual attractiveness peak at the same age. There's a strong relationship between age and sexual attractiveness. So heterosexual men are sexually attracted to young women, and homosexual men are attracted to young men. And so you see that the rapists are men in their most horny years, raping women in their most fertile years. That's where we see it happen. So she found this when she worked at a rape crisis center, and also in her research, that the risk of a woman being raped increases rapidly after the age of 12 and then decreases after the age of 30. So rape is a crime of sexual aggression. Okay? So that's one way in which, men are just generally more horny and more violent, but this is just to say that a subset of men have it to such an extent that they're actually dangerous to women and to society, and that rape is a male crime in all species. You do not see women raping men. It's extremely rare. 98 to 99% of convicted sex offenders are male in every part of the world. And the women who make up the remaining 1 or 2% are usually doing it alongside a husband or boyfriend, and they never assault strangers. So there's definitely a pattern there. So how can women avoid being, sought out by one of these rapists? Giving consent workshops isn't going to help because this is a biological instinct in a certain proportion of men, and they don't care about the consequences. So there are some ways to spot them. Rapists tend to be more impulsive, hostile, disagreeable, promiscuous, hypermasculine, and low in empathy compared with other men. But the best way to avoid them is to limit the opportunities for them to act on their desires. And this is not victim blaming, this is just being smart and knowing what to look for. So she says that if we accept the evidence of evolutionary biology and move beyond the standard feminist view, then we can see that rapists are men who are aroused by violence. Men who are aroused by violence. They have poor impulse control, and they have a suitable victim and a suitable set of circumstances. So what could those be? It could be a victim who's drunk or high, or vulnerable. the absence of witnesses, and no fear of legal or social repercussions. And if you wanted to design the perfect environment for the would-be rapist, you couldn't do much better than a party or a nightclub filled with young women in high heels, which limits their mobility, and drinking or taking drugs, limiting their awareness. And although she says that she herself as a young woman put herself into the situation many times, and she understands the pressure to conform, is that doing so should only be done with their girlfriends or highly trusted men, and doing so among strange men will always be risky. Just like it's risky for women to hitchhike alone, travel alone, or go back to a strange man's house. The sorry truth is that an unknown minority of men pose a risk, and those men aren't always identifiable on first sight. So here's her advice to young women. Avoid putting yourself in a situation where you are alone with a man you don't know, or a man who gives you a bad feeling in your gut. He's almost certainly stronger and faster than you, which means that the only thing standing between you and rape is that man's self-control. But going beyond rape, I don't know anyone who's been raped. I've never been raped. So, I mean, it's certainly something to be aware about, like don't walk alone in a dark alley at night. But that's not the only way in which men and women are different, okay? The greatest difference, and I think this would apply to the majority of men, is that men are more sociosexual than women. I'm going to make a different video on that. So come back for the next one.